there seems to be some kind of connection issue at LSU with Brian Kelly and his football team because when I look at the numbers, something ain't adding up. What's going on, everybody? I'm Nick Frazier, and welcome to Water Cooler Talk Sports, man. And if this is your first time around the water cooler here with us, we appreciate you so much, man. While you're here, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when we post more videos and when we go live. When you're done with that, head over to Twitter and follow us on Twitter at CoolestPod23. Again, that's CoolestPod23 on Twitter. Let's get into it, man. So, Brian Kelly has been at LSU for what, a couple of years now. Left Notre Dame, came to LSU because something about the resources and the commitment to football. Well, Notre Dame just debunked that because they went to the national championship last year. But when you look at this LSU team, I sit here and I say to myself, something about this connection just seems off. Something ain't right. You know, when I look at this team, I'm like, this team should be in the conversation for SEC championship and playoff consideration as well. When you look at what this team did last year, you know, yes, they lost to USC on the road. They lost to a Miller Moss-led offense at USC on the road with a comeback win, as a matter of fact. Then you lose to Florida late down the stretch as well. But when you look at what they produced on the offensive side of the ball, you know, you had Garrett Nussmeier, who will be returning this year as quarterback. He's back this year. Last year, he was second in the conference in passing, only behind Jackson Dart. And we know Jackson Dart right now in the NFL, after just having a great combine performance, after just having a great Senior Bowl week, and potentially he's going to have a great pro day at Ole Miss. You know how good he was. And to be second behind him in the conference in passing yards, you know, Garrett Nussmeier, his numbers last year, 4,052 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I mean, that ranked second in the conference behind Jackson Dart. And then you look at what he had behind him in the running back position with Caden Durham, who had just under 800 yards rushing last year. And then on top of that, you look at the guy in Aaron Anderson, who had right under 900 yards receiving last year for this offense. And then you look at what they brought in on the offensive side of the ball at the wide receiver position to pair with Anderson, transfer Nick Anderson from Oklahoma, who potentially this year, 6'4", 215 frame, could be the number one option in this offense for Garrett Nussmeier. Could be the security blanket for Garrett Nussmeier in this offense this year. So you're looking at this and you're saying, man, what's the problem? What's going on? This offense ranked 5th among SEC offensive last year, just scoring just above 30 points a game. You know, roughly having about 116 yards rushing, 315 yards passing, giving you an average total of about 431 yards per game. But here's the thing, though. It wasn't the offense. Could it be the offensive line? Now, they are returning some guys on the offensive line that seems to be young. It seems to be a very young offensive line that seems to be coming back. A lot of red shirt sophomores, a lot of red shirt freshmen, a lot of freshmen. Josh Thompson, if I'm not mistaken, is the guy that transferred from Northwestern. He'll be on this offensive line this year. He was interested in Auburn as well. If Auburn fans know, Josh Thompson did come to Auburn. He visited, and Auburn was one of his choices. He had family that lived in Mobile that potentially could have been a connection for him at Auburn. But could the offensive line be a problem? Well, last year, the defense ranked 11th in the SEC last year in total defense, you know, roughly giving up 24 points a game, which I think was, you know, in the SEC ranking 11, giving up 24 points an average. That's depending on who you ask, that's good or bad. You know, really depends. But the way offenses scored this time, I would probably put that on the borderline of being somewhere between fair and really good. 224 passing yards a game, roughly giving up a total of almost 300, just under 370 yards total per game. You look at losing Harold Perkins Jr., superstar freshman that came on the scene last year, his freshman year for LSU. He'll be, if I'm not mistaken, either a junior or senior this year. had a injury last year that left him sidelined for the back half of the season with a knee injury. He'll be coming back on the scene. So having that presence back on there, looking at the guys that transferred in from Florida on their front line, and Jack Pyburn from Florida, you saw how Florida's defense knuckled up at the end of the season last year, and he was a part of that. So he's transferring into this defense as well. Also, you got guys like Patrick Payton, who also be on the other side of Pyburn potentially, that'll be rushing the quarterback as well. So shoring up this defense, if this defense is able to get 3 and outs, not have costly mistakes, be able to turn over other offenses, have a great secondary that could potentially provide this pass rush half a second or a second or two to be able to get to opposing quarterbacks and affect the game. If this defense can step up to what this offense will look like with Garrett Nussmeier leading it, this potentially could be a team. Just you look at the production, you look at the talent, you look at what they brought in the Porter to shore up the areas where they're weak at. This potentially could be a team that we are looking at in mid to late November, saying they have a chance to get to Atlanta and play for the SEC championship. Now, I remind you, Brian Kelly did take this team to an SEC championship his first season. That's why so many people were hyped up on him. That's why so many people were behind him. They were looking at this and saying, oh my God, look, he's coming in. He's doing it. He's doing what he said. Everything he said he didn't get at Notre Dame, he's doing it. He got it here. He got the resources, and he got him here to an SEC championship game his first season there. So you're looking at this and you're saying, look at this. The talent is there. It is there. The production is there. But what's missing? It seems like something is missing with this team that just will not allow them to get over that hump, to get back to the success that they had previously in his first year. And I think I know what it could potentially be. Brian Kelly more than likely is not connecting with these players. When you look at a Kyron Lacey running off the field, yelling at the head coach, where they do that at? Huh? Where they do that at? With reports coming out saying he's not connecting with the guys in the locker room. Now, these are reports. They could be substantiated, and they could just be false. But the thing is, you looking at this thing and you saying, I don't know, man. Like, what is the problem? What is the problem with this team? Because this team, the talent around this team, when you historically look at LSU, LSU is going to have a really good defense. They didn't have that last year. They didn't have that. Even with Perkins on the field last year at some points in time, the defense didn't look good. But that kind of started with Jane Daniels as well, too. When Jane Daniels was there. Jane Daniels really propelled that team to heights that they should not have been to because of his play on the field when he was the quarterback in his Heisman Trophy year. But shoring up that defense, is he connecting with the type of guys that LSU normally goes after and recruits? Are those guys interested in LSU? Are those guys interested in playing for Brian Kelly? That is the interesting question there. Is Brian Kelly that guy that can come in and galvanize a team because they have talent? Is he that type of guy that can galvanize a team, lift the spirits of the team, and inspire them to play winning football, especially what's needed in the SEC? Year one, he kind of showed it. But a lot of people will say, year one, Gus Malzahn did it his first year at Auburn. But then next thing you know, it kind of fizzled out. You're kind of seeing that now. Are we seeing a result of similar with Brian Kelly at LSU? This is going to be an interesting year for him. Can he galvanize this team? Because the production is there, the talent is there. They have went out and filled holes on this team to be competitive in the SEC this year for the SEC championship and potentially a playoff spot. We'll be watching. That's all I can say. We'll be watching.